Hi everyone, welcome back to the Wonder of Anime YouTube channel. My name is Lisa and I am a multimedia content creator with a focus on anime. If you're new here, welcome. This might not be the first video for you to start with, but we'll get into that. This is finally the continuation of my Clamp Reread series. We are picking up where we left off with volume 4 of the Clamp X Omnibus, which includes volumes 10, 11, and 12. I had recorded the previous videos back in January, so obviously it's been almost 10 months since I recorded those videos, and I had completely fallen off where I was in my Clamp in this X reread because I haven't read it since. So I actually binged my own videos. I caught up and then I continued reading the rest. So I'm so excited to get into volume 4 today, and I'm just, it was so crazy rereading it and then picking up, seeing my thoughts from the previous videos and then jumping right into the manga as opposed to revisiting the other mangas that I read. But it's getting good and I'm so excited to get into this. I will be sure to put a little card here with the playlist for all my Clamp reread videos. If you don't know, I am going in chronological order. So I have Tokyo Babylon, Clamp School Detectives, Man of Many Faces. I have all the older ones done. And we're picking back up, and I'm so excited because I'm actually done with the entire series. So I will be filming all these videos and then you guys will be getting them in the next couple of weeks. But let's jump into it. So as I did with my previous videos, I am starting with just a quick summary. Obviously not every single detail of what happened. I have my book super tallied up with different colors for different things, and I'm so excited to get back into it. Picking up in volume 10, Kamui and the rest of the seals, they're all up in the Clamp School Detectives. The Clamp School Academy, they're sealing the sword away. As we know, it is a twin sword, so at the same time, the other sword is reacting and Nakoto escapes the facility with it, because at this time, the sword's all hooked up in this water thing. I don't know how the facility works. Kakio, he meets with Hinoto and Kanoi. Kakio and Hinoto, they're dream seers and they can see the future of what's to come. Kanoi is not a dream seer, but she has the abilities to pass through her sister's dreams, and that's how she kind of has gathered the information that she has about, where stuff is happening in the future. Kanoi states that she realized, she says she knew that Fuma was the other Kamui because she witnessed him going into the Kekai, which I think I mentioned in a previous video. Isn't it weird that he just walked through it? That was signaling something. So she said that she picked up in that moment that she knew he was going to be the other Kamui. Kakio confirms with Hinoto that Katori did have dream seer abilities, or she had some certain type of abilities, and he just says they were never realized. He then shows Katori's final moments and her saying that the future can be changed, and he shows that to Hinoto. All the seals, they get together and they go visit Hinoto. Meanwhile, the angels, they're exact opposites, they're all getting together and they're meeting Fuma and Kanoi. Hinoto comes clean to Kamui and reveals that she kind of was using him for her own motives. She knew that he couldn't save Katori. He knew that was never going to happen, and she lied basically to get him to be a 7 seal, kind of thinking that he could change that, her knowing that that was never going to be able to be changed. Hinoto does show Kamui his mom's history, her talking to Saya before she died, and Saya is Katori and Fuma's mom. Saya was saying this is her fate all along, to die for Toru, which is Kamui's mom. We see that they were together, it was a loving relationship. They were what Katori saw in her vision before she passed, listen, I'm gonna die for you, I'm gonna take the sacrifice for you. And then we see, the final moments with Saya and the dad, Kyogo, before she gives birth to the sword. He's saying, I knew all along that this was your purpose. This is the reason why you came to this shrine. Because she's saying, she was a terrible wife and mom because she never loved him. All of this, marrying him, having the kids, all of that was for Toru's sake. And he said he knew that, and no matter what, she was the woman that he loved, even though she loved somebody else. And then Hinota also shows Kamui the moments before Toru died, and Toru was a shadow sacrifice to the earth, the entire earth, which is why she went up in flames. Kakio interrupts the dream to then tell Kamui like what the angels are aiming for, and Kamui said that he just wants, like, he don't care about this angels versus seals thing. Like, he just wants to protect the place that his loved ones lived, which is earth, and then that's why he becomes the seal, because he's choosing to protect the earth in this whole thing. So then volume 11, we do a little time skip of 3 months since the end, you know, that whole thing that happened in volume 10. Kamui, Yuzuriha, Arashi, and Sarada, they're all living together. This is not explained. Nobody knows how this happened. And they're attempting the clamp school together. So I don't know how the earth is ending and you're going to school. Shady, but they're all hanging out, making breakfast, going to school together. Kamui has made a friend, or this guy who keeps trying to be his friend and keeps trying to hang out. We have Subaru, who's also tutoring him. Again, why would you care about school when, you know, the world is ending and the fate is in your hands? But, you know, Fuma, the other Kamui, he seems to want to grant the angels' wishes. So anytime he's seen in conversation with any of the other 7 angels or 6 angels, he's talking about granting people's wishes. He also makes it clear that everyone is like operating solo. So in the seals, you see the seals, they get together, they kind of all like, we're going to work together and fight the angels. Whether everybody in the angels crew is kind of like, whatever, like we just doing our own thing. Like, it doesn't matter. We're doing what we got to do. We see this thing that happens that when people are looking at Fuma, they are seeing like, they're like, he looks like my special person, whoever that person is. And, you know, that's kind of weird that it's like, you remind me of somebody, you look like somebody that I know. Then, you know, even though it's been 3 months, because 3 months is basically nothing, Kamui is still thinking about the events with Fuma and Kotori, kind of like replaying the moments and always thinking about what his role is in terms of the world ending. We see, you know, he's having dinner with Keiichi. Like, Keiichi finally convinces him, Keiichi's the friend from school, finally convinces him to, hey, come over, have dinner with me and my mom. He learns that Keiichi's dad died in one of the earthquakes from before, the earthquakes, which was one of the 7 angels wreaking havoc, and he hates earthquakes. And Kamui's there, you know, seeing him and seeing his mom. And then, of course, as fate would have it, while this dinner is going on, Nakato and Fuma go to the Sunshine Building to destroy it, as well as kill the CEO founder guy. And an earthquake happens. Of course, an earthquake would happen after Keiichi's like, I hate earthquakes. Kamui's like, yo, I gotta go. I'll be back. And goes to the Sunshine Building. And then Kamui and Fuma start fighting. And then Subaru arrives, and then that's how volume 11 ends. Pick up in volume 12. Subaru raises a Keikai because obviously, like, we gonna protect people. First, Nakato and Subaru are fighting, and then Fuma's like, nah, I want in this, and starts fighting Subaru. Kamui is tied up, of course, because he's always tied up in every battle that happens, so he can't help Subaru in the fight with Fuma. Subaru keeps seeing Seishiro, so this is that thing again where people are looking at Fuma and seeing who they love. He's asking, like, Fuma, like, why do you look like him? And Fuma says that's because that's what you're wishing for. He stabs Subaru in the eye, surprise, surprise, clamp, somebody's losing an eye, and Kamui finally breaks free and rushes over to Subaru. And, you know, they're like, all right, this fight, we putting a pause on this fight. Subaru and Kamui are rushed to the hospital. This is basically a replay of Tokyo Babylon with Seishiro and Subaru. This time it is Kamui and Subaru. Same events basically that happened in Tokyo Babylon. Subaru is like thinking, and he's like reflecting that he wanted to lose his eye and his vision because that's what he wanted. And he's like, how did Fuma know that? Like, how did you know that that's really what I wanted? Seishiro and Fuma meet up, and Fuma tells Seishiro, like, I took his eye because that's what he wishes for, but what he truly wants isn't something that I can give him. Like, you're the one that can grant that wish. So Seishiro was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know what what that could possibly be. And I think this is kind of one of the first times where Seishiro's truly like caught off guard, because up until this moment he's very like calm, cool, and collected, and then Fuma kind of catches him off guard on what he says. Kamui and Sarada, they're then reflecting on Kamui's feelings, and Sarada's like, hey, like you can't feel guilty about like this stuff that happens. Like I know you feel some type of way, like Subaru got hurt now and people keep getting hurt, but at the end of the day, like you still gotta use those feelings and move forward. More cute Arashi and Sarada moments, because that's my shit. Back at school, Kamui learns that Keiichi's mother, she died as well. Like damn, his dad died, now his mom is dying in the earthquake, and Kamui feels very sad, but again, this is more motivation for him that he's on the right path to protect the earth. Kamui visits Hinoto because he's like, I need to learn how to make a keikai. But she says, like, I don't know how. Like, I'm a dream seer. Like, the keikais is some things that the seals do. That's not something that I know how to do. While this is happening, Yuzuriha is about to meet up with Kusanagi. She bumps into Fuma, but at this point, she doesn't know who Fuma is or what his role is with the end of the world. So she's just like, like, he reminds me of Kusanagi, but she doesn't know why or how. So then when she meets up with Kusanagi, she tells him like, hey, like I just met up with somebody who reminds me of you. And he kind of like looked like you. Kusanagi thinks of Fuma and knows who she's talking about. He's like, to him, like he's thinking of someone that looks like everyone, but doesn't look like anyone. And he says he abandons his true self and becomes who the other person desires to see. Kamui and Saiki, the one who's always with Hinoto, they go and they visit the CEO from Sunrise that Kamui saved during the battle with Fuma and Nakato. And he's like, why are you involved in this? What's going on? The CEO says that Sunrise Company made Nakato, and he explains that Nakato was created by his son who passed, who was overcome with grief when his young daughter died of illness. Nakato is supposed to be the daughter, like replacing the daughter, but because the daughter was so sick, there was not enough genetic material of hers to use, so the son sacrificed himself, his body, his DNA, so that they can make the daughter, aka Nakato. So that's why Nakato, although Nakato is genderless because it is a created being, has male presenting features because they use like the body of the dad. It's like mentally the daughter because they used her DNA. Right when Kamui, of course, is gonna ask, like, how did you know the granddaughter, like she was gonna be a dragon of the earth? Then Satsuki attacks, of course. And Yuzuriha and Kusanagi, their date is interrupted by this, and she erects a keikai. And that is the end of volume 12. Before we get into my thoughts, I just kind of want to highlight some good moments. So here we have the Clamp School detectives. They are all grown up here. It's just so funny seeing them grown up. Then we have, this is the flashback with Fuma and Kotori's parents, where he's like, I loved you even knowing that you would never love me back. And then she explodes and gives birth to the sword. The cute little Arashi and Sorata moments. Another Kamui and his regrets. Here we have Kusanagi and Yuzuriha talking about Fuma. It's like he abandons his true self. He becomes whoever the other person desires to see most. And yeah, then Satsuki attacks. 10, 11, and 12 really are just setting the tone for what's to come. Things that particularly stood out to me is Fuma and how he is presented to everyone in the series, both the angels as well as the seals, because everyone is seeing him and seeing who they want to see. And all throughout his interactions with everyone, Kakio, Seishiro, Subaru, he's talking about like granting people's wishes. And, he knows their deepest desires, even if they don't know it, or if they haven't admitted to themselves that this is their deepest desire. At this point, this Fuma, development and how he in this other Kamui role is, to me, is just speaks to like a major clamp theme that we will see later on with wishes and people wanting to grant wishes and people and their desires. Fast forwarding to, you know, when we'll be talking about XXX Holic, or I learned people just say Holic. Once we'll be talking about that, you know, Yuko has her own shop where she is granting wishes. And although people's desires and wishes may not be conventional, it may not be what anybody else wants, that's what her shop exists for. And I think X, a little bit, I would say, of RG Veda, but really this is flushed out in X as a major clamp theme, is that people wanting their desires, and regardless of who's affected, who's going to be happy, who's not, like, is there going to be bigger drama because these desires and wishes are realized? It doesn't matter, because that is your desire. And it's funny how clamp, and I know we'll see this in the other volumes of X as we draw towards the end, like there's a person that takes it upon themselves, or a person that is assigned that role of granting wishes. And to me, that is very interesting, because personally, I think, you know, that's a big undertaking to have someone have that role, because ultimately, and I think we'll see this with Fuma and in the other volumes as they go by, right now he's not Fuma. Like, he's not who Kamui and Kotori grew up with as Fuma. He's in the role of the other Kamui. And when he takes on this role as the other Kamui, he abandons himself and all of these past desires. But it's interesting, because then he's in this new role. He's granting people's wishes and desires, and knows what people want. And that seems like, of course, he's operating in this end of the world mentality, but it seems more focused on people's desires and granting those wishes. And I think it kind of goes into what Kusanagi said about his appearance, where he seems like everyone, but he's not anyone in particular. And I think that speaks to when you get into this role of being a wish granter, where you just want to fill people's desires. You don't have any desires. You don't have any desires of your own or things that you want to accomplish, because you are so set on granting people's wishes. And I'll talk about this later when I reread XXX Holic, but I think that's very interesting in a comparison to Yuko, where Yuko grants wishes, and we don't really know why. Like, her shop exists for her to grant these wishes. What is she getting out of it? What's her motives? What is her wish? And that's obviously explored at XXX Holic, but I think it's very interesting to see those parallels and kind of see where that's got the start with Fuma. In terms of the story of X itself, aside from what is going on with the moving along the plot of X, like, the end of the world seems like, yes, it's happening, and it seems so big, but at the same time, it's like a very small part of the story, because the angels are just attacking, and they're trying to ruin all these sacred areas to collapse Tokyo. And while those are happening, like, we're focusing on everyone's inner desires, what people want. Honestly, the seals are getting their asses kicked, because the angels, they just be destroying stuff. And the angels are so devoid of caring as a group collective. Like, everyone, like Fuma says, everyone's operating on an individual basis. They show up, they ruin stuff, they knock down these sacred areas, and then they're like, all right, cool, like, I'm moving on. Their focus is on the earth, in terms of on earth and not humans, like just the earth itself as a living being with animals and plants and all that. And they don't really care about the humanity aspect. And I think that really also plays into how we see them. And we will still see them, like Fuma said, everybody's operating independently. And I think, obviously they're the angels. So, everybody in the seals thinks collectively. We love people. We want to save people. And the angels are like, no, fuck people. And I think it's because they're so individualistic that they're in those roles, because they don't care about people. And everyone, they may have like one person that they think about or that they care about, but for the most part, everybody operates independently. So overall, like I said, I think these volumes really serve to lay the groundwork for the next 6 volumes of X, as we draw closer to the end. And the end is in quotes because we know that it ends in a cliffhanger. Furthermore, I think that's where I don't really have too many thoughts on this, because a lot of it kind of was just laying the groundwork for what we're gonna see. But like I said, what really stood out to me was Fuma, his relationship with granting wishes and desires within the angels, the seals, and then, you know, overall in the Clamp universe, how that will be a theme that we see repeated again and again. And, you know, I was talking about Yuko in XXX Holic, but now I think about, what is her name? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Kabato. And, you know, she's on Earth trying to grant people's wishes. And I think about too how, I think it's Cardcaptor Sakura, where everyone has like their own wish or something that they want. And it's awesome, like going back and seeing this really laid out in Fuma as a person, and then how that central theme just evolves within the Clamp universe as the years go on and as they develop other stories. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, this deep dive on X, the Omnibus Volume 4, Volumes 10 through 12 of the series. And I'm so excited to continue on, and I will see you guys on the next video. And get ready, because it's just getting worse. It's just getting worse from here. The story is just going downhill, and I'm excited for the story to go downhill. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.